Welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Advice, thoughts, and stories from a married couple on cybersecurity, technology, and life in general. Now here are your hosts, Didi and Lital.
Hello and welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. Hey Didi.
Hey Lital.
I'm not okay with the weather.
No.
It's Memorial Day weekend. It's a Friday when we're recording, just before Memorial Day, and it's freaking cold. I don't know. You liars with this climate change cult. You liars. I hate you. Like, what the heck? It's 40 degrees. I ran outside wearing gloves. I'm with my Eddie Bauer parka. It's freezing cold. I want this climate change, this warm weather to be here now. Stop playing around. Like, it's freaking summertime.
Brian told me that it was 97 in Austin yesterday. So
I'm totally game going there. I like 97.
I just want to say
I'm totally fine.
that during
97.
COVID, we were walking in Florida, in Tampa, and I told you, let's get the fuck out of Massachusetts. They're losing in sports. They suck balls. They're all leftist crazies. But you loved the leftist crazies back then. So you stuck here. I wanted to move to Florida and pay less taxes. Just saying.
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah. What's up?
What's up? So
Quick sports radio before we get into
No. We're not starting with sports radio. We're starting with sports radio. No. We're starting. This is a serious topic, and therefore I cannot introduce levity. Oh, I will probably, but because I can't stop myself. But this is too serious of a topic to start with the funny topics I have to talk about in sports radio.
Okay.
So, this is, I think, let's start with the big item on the news for us. The big item on the news for us is the two employees of the Israeli embassy
In DC.
were shot in cold blood coming out of the Jewish Museum event, in a gala event. And everybody in the media portrays it as a political murder of somebody protesting the war in Gaza.
So
Versus treating it as what it is, as an act of anti-Semitism. Because nobody wears a sign that says, I'm Israeli.
I'm an embassy employee. I mean, they went to a gala event of the American Jewish Council, AJC. It was, a gala event. They were wearing regular attire, and they were just targeted because they went to this event at the Jewish Museum.
Which means that they were targeted
nobody
for
knew
being Jews.
They were targeted for being Jews.
Yes.
With an assassin that flew with his weapon all the way from Chicago a few days before, planning his attack.
Yes.
So well-planned anti-Semitic attack. And it's being portrayed as anti-Zionism activity. So let's start with
Let's start with by who is it portrayed by, because this is something.
Well, the same people that are pro the Louis Mangione or whatever his name, and are pro killing the United Healthcare CEO.
I disagree with you. So this is more of general media, because this is where
the general media also supported.
I don't know about. I don't know about that.
By the way, they come from the same organization, influenced by the same organization that.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. I think they're hurting the idiots to do things, but the fact is, look, here is. I'm actually contemplating to raise money and sue CNN, Rachel Meadows, some of those people, personally for inciting anti-Semitic murder. And I'll tell you why I think this is the case. And you stop linking it to stupidity. The fact that stupid people that are communists and idiots do things is very different than the people that are actually driving this. And this is where my anti-Semitic position is about this, and why this is anti-Semitism. And it's not related to anything besides that. Because the media speaks about this. So let's start with the fact that the Attorney General stated that this is an anti-Semitic crime, and only Fox aired that statement. It's specifically cut off by CNN. It's specifically cut off by our local Fox. She speaks about this. She makes a statement. She makes a very clear statement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's deliberately edited in a way to say...
To position it as a political murder of Israelis and not of Israeli officials, and not what it is.
And anti-Semitic. So I'll give you an example of an actual murder of an Israeli. If the thing that started the war in Lebanon was a deliberate assassination by a PLO official that knew exactly who the ambassador, I think, was in London.
Maybe Paris. I don't remember. Yeah.
But he knew.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
He knew exactly who the person was, targeted that person specifically, and knew what he was doing. Not ambushing Jews outside. This is not a political murder. The fact that he's making statements and those are quoted very deliberately out of some of these things is a very clear message. If you hear anti-Semitic tropes since the dawn of time, you'll hear Jews are killing babies. Jews are killing babies. If you look at Russia in a million years ago, that's the statement. Jews are killing babies to make matzah using baby blood.
Yeah, that was the way to incite people for pogrom. All the pogrom were done with that.
Yes.
That's the one of the most ancient stories that led to violence against Jews.
So CNN is saying Jews are killing babies. And then they're surprised that this is what happens. This is not a surprise. And the thing is that the Jewish population here, especially the Newton as a Jew population, disgusts me because they're reacting exactly like the Jews in Weimar. Not in Weimar. Yes, in Weimar.
In Germany in
Weimar.
In the 30s.
Exactly. They said, no. What they actually mean is the communists. No. What they mean is the
ultra-Orthodox. The ones that don't assimilate. The ones that are not, contributing to society the way we do.
They're not like us.
Yeah.
Look at the picture. The Schirmer shows them with the beard and the hat.
It's not us.
It's not us.
We don't have the yarmulke.
Exactly. We wear suits. We're not. It's them. They don't like them. And then when they murder a rich Jewish banker, I say, no, you need to understand. They're protesting the fact that the economy
is rich and the economy is bad.
No, it's anti-Semitic tropes that are there since the dawn of time.
And I have to say, for 2 years now, we've seen those protests in campus coming and going, especially in all the blue states. And people openly say globalize the Intifada.
Yes.
As if it's a legitimate, non-violent, beautiful saying. Globalize Intifada meant thousands of killing in terror attacks in Israel. If you know what happened in the Intifada, buses were bombed, cafes were bombed, a children disco in the beach of Israel, more than 20 were murdered in a horrendous attack
by suicide bombers that came from the UK. Nobody talks about this.
This is you're mixing the other Mike's place. I was talking about the Dolphinarium.
Yeah.
But
same disco, same beach.
Same beach, half a mile away.
Yes.
The thing is, Intifada is bloody terrorist attacks against Jews. So when people chant in Ivy League campuses and thanks for President Trump to finally do something against it. Harvard yesterday, did you hear that they cannot have foreign students anymore?
Of course, because
they don't trust them in the way they accept students to not incite this violence in
and
campus.
Not accept a terrorist from somewhere.
And just saying it's free speech. No, it's not free speech. When people called to globalize the Intifada, it means they're calling to bring killing to the United States. And that's what we see. And it's now happening every week. A person was murdered in Miami. There was a killing in New York. There was a guy in Arizona that an employee of him shot him. All of them Jews. And in the news, it's always like blended, and nobody tells you who it was and who did it, because it is what it is. There is crazy anti-Semitism happening. Now, we've been fighting here locally, the school system and the city, with the rise of anti-Semitism, and they didn't want to release the numbers. And finally, I'm actually grateful for finally making the change and releasing the actual number of hate crimes and incident reporting to Newton Police in the past few years to just get the data. It's shocking. We can put the exact numbers. I don't remember them, but the percentage and the increase.
It's over 90% of all hate crimes in Newton are anti-Semitic.
Yes.
And the fact that they continuously say anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim. There was one
Islamophobia. There was one Islamophobia reported incident, and hundreds of incidents involving mostly students in school around anti-Semitism. It's bluntly out there. It's completely now okay. The Overton window we talked about is now making it completely fine. Things that nobody
so it's more
would have
complicated.
said 2 years ago.
And part of the reason that I'm saying somebody needs to sue the media, specifically sue the media, because we saw that once there was the lawsuit against The View, they shut the fuck up and stopped spewing their disgusting bile. This is the only way to stop them. Americans only understand, big American corporations only understand hitting them in the pocket. That's the only thing that they
So who can sue? I mean, in what scheme you sue the media for inciting
it's very
violence?
simple. Somebody, if I were the parents of the victims, Sarah Milgram is an American. Her parents probably live here. They should sue CNN, NBC, and some of the personas that are related to this.
Do you think it's similar? So there was a case in the Supreme Court, YouTube parents of kids that joined ISIS, I believe, and were killed, and so said they were radicalized by YouTube, and they complained about the algorithm.
The YouTube is the platform. So I forget the name of the ruling. I need to find it up.
Yeah, there is a
specific ruling where it relates to the platform
rights.
This is not a case of a platform, because these are specific people like Rachel Meadows, like Caitlin Clark. Caitlin, what's her name?
I don't know.
I
don't. You're the one watching CNN.
Yes.
I quit it. I cannot stand them.
And
I don't watch any of the traditional media.
There's specific journalists, which is very funny because it's not. Yeah, Caitlin Collins. Yes.
Ugh, she's so beautiful, and she hates Jews.
Yes. So this is the main. This is my main problem with this, is that there's specific personas that you need to sue them because the platform employs them and pays them money, and therefore it is CNN's and NBC's responsibility.
You know what? It's similar to the Fox case when there was like Dominion sued them, but that's monetary issues because
this is worse.
About the hoax claim about election fraud and so.
But this is something that
inciting.
But this is something that you can sue them and specifically state where, because here's the thing that. You can describe. It's illegal to report, like in a specific way of omitting. There's a very, very good video that explains the way Vox explains the Gaza incident, of how they lie without lying. Our friends from Trigonometry kind of walk through the video one by one and explain exactly how this is.
Is it about the hospital bombing from early in the war?
No. They go through the Vox video.
Overall reporting of Gaza.
Overall reporting of Gaza, and they say, for example, they don't talk about the massacres that happened. They say that they launched lots of rockets and people were killed. What it means that somebody that listens to this assumes that the people were killed by the rockets. And then you hear students come and say, no, Israel had Iron Dome and they chose not to use it. No, Iron Dome is really nice and can stop rockets. It can't stop people coming over the border and shooting somebody in their home. Iron Dome can't stop that.
That's so the whole idea of canceling 10-7, which is now a real thing.
So
10-7 denial.
Yes. So you can see this already happening in the media, and you can see this already happening when we talk about anti-Semitism. They will report. So Dana Bash's report about the rise of hatred and anti-Semitism spends 40 minutes discussing the rise of anti-Semitism from the right. 45 minutes.
Sure. It's only in the right.
They describe the good people from both sides incident for like 45 minutes. They spend 5 minutes out of the whole episode discussing the left. And
how mainstream anti-Semitism is now in the left.
Exactly. And
because now they call it anti-Zionism, and it's part of anything, the anti-colonialism. And I want to say something that is about the way they kind of like made it mainstream. And I think that's the problem. There is only one conflict in the world right now. Well, there are so many conflicts going on, and conflicts and wars are bloody and complex, and there is only one conflict when they clearly put a blame on only one side.
Yes.
And then make it okay to be anti-Zionism, Israel, whatever, which is at the end of the day being anti-Jewish. Because can you even imagine them making it okay to be anti-Russian? Are they kind of inciting violence against Russian American citizens?
Nope.
Russia has just had a bloody attack 2 weeks ago over Kiev.
They launched hundreds of drones,
yeah,
targeting population.
So, no matter what you think about the Gaza war, and, you can be against what Israel is doing, you can be pro. I mean, my opinion is very clear about how righteous this war is.
And I disagree with
he
Netanyahu.
He disagrees, and that's fine. But it doesn't matter. If you're not living there, you don't understand the conflict, you have nothing to say, and you cannot also infer for people that belong to the same people to be responsible for a war happening thousands of miles away. So are Russians living in the US responsible for things that Putin does? Are Sudanian people living in the US or in elsewhere responsible for horrible genocidal war that is going on right now over there?
Are Turkish
what
people?
What about Myanmar? Or what about?
What about Turkish people responsible for all the stuff that Erdogan's doing? By the way, this is, if you want to run
Syrian that right now are killing Druze and doing a real genocide with the Alawi population over there.
Which, by the way, who's stopping? Who's stopping that?
Yeah,
genocide?
the Israelis. The Israelis are stepping in, and they're putting pressure on the new Syrian government to stop the genocide of the Druze, because there are strong ties of Israeli Druze, and if you don't know, read about it.
You can't.
You can't, nobody in the news reports about that.
Yes.
Israel is stepping in to defend a small minority, but a minority that is really close to Israelis, and we feel like, even though they're not Jewish, by the way.
Yes.
So it's such a pervert thing that there is only one war that the media is obsessed with, that it blames everyone, even if not living in Israel, connected to it.
Yes.
And then justifies those kind of activities as being, it's a legitimate political assassination to stop the killing of 15,000 kids allegedly in Gaza.
Yeah.
That's what I heard, and I don't watch CNN, but I saw a clip on X. This is insane. What's the connection of two innocent people getting into a nice event, being nicely dressed, and being killed in the parking lot.
If you want more indication of this, so here's a little exercise. So I'll give you the big context of the story. As you know, Anton and I like to walk, and we like to talk politics. I don't remember if it was Tal who was walking with us, or one of the younger employees that was working with us walked with me and or spent time with me and Anton, and we were talking about Erdogan's neo-Ottomanism and desire to take over all the path from Turkey to China and drill a path, and that's how the insane massacre of Armenians is happening, and nobody's talking about that. Between Azerbaijan and Armenia, nobody's talking about that war because it doesn't matter. And the whole thing that Erdogan is doing by massacres of his own population, nobody's talking about this because he's trying to build...
Only when Jews are defending themselves, people care.
So we were talking about this, and somebody asked us, how do you know all this stuff? And I said, well, you need to be able to read Russian, and preferably you need to be able to read primarily Russian and a little bit of Hebrew to be able to understand a lot of the stuff that's happening between Azerbaijan and Armenia, because it's only reported through Signal and Twitter and all the stuff channels by
Telegram,
by Russian-speaking people. Mm-hmm. And he said, what? I said, yeah, the media doesn't report it. Now, we ran an exercise because of that. Anton and I came in, and we asked Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude. We asked all the big AIs, hey, can you describe to us the biggest conflicts that are happening right now in the world?
I'm sure they will say the Gaza war, because...
So it starts with a big block of the Gaza war. Then...
it seems as the biggest one, because
then
the news...
half the size of a block describing the Russia-Ukraine war. Side note on Kenya, side note on Congo, side note on Sudan, and stops. And then I said...
Myanmar is not in a war anymore?
So I asked it, what about Myanmar? Oh, yes, blob. Then I asked it, what about Azerbaijan? Oh, yeah. What about Pakistan, India? They recently...
Just two nuclear powers
yes.
getting into a war.
Yes. So when you know about these things and you ask the AIs, they'll tell you about it. But if you ask... And then I asked the AI, tell me, why did you create the first block? And the answer was very honest. It's based on the amount of reporting, especially Gemini is very good at explaining how it came back. It explained it's based on the number of Google searches and the number of pieces of media that is published. So basically, the Israel-Gaza war has more publication than all the rest of the conflicts that are happening in the world. It has a lot of wrong facts, like the conflict there in everything surrounding Rwanda are the biggest and bloodiest conflicts, because after the Houthi and the Tutsi and the...
Tutsi and Hutu.
Yes. After they basically reversed roles, the leader that came from the surviving tribes is a very charismatic guy. By the way, unfortunately, buddies with Netanyahu and Putin.
Don't.
But look, he is.
Whatever.
And we're selling them guns, and they're killing everybody around them. Everybody. They're just
conflicts that nobody cares about.
Nobody cares about.
The media doesn't. But I have something to say, and you think it's CNN, but I actually want to say chapeau to the organization that creates this whole thing and successfully creates this thing.
El-Jazeera.
El-Jazeera. So there is only one news outlet that is actually doing reporting from Gaza. Yeah, because all these reporters are actually working for Hamas or for UNRWA. for both, which is Al-Jazeera. CNN doesn't have people in Gaza to report. And Al-Jazeera is a project of the Qatari government of spreading anti-Semitism in the world. That's something they do bluntly. And it's super successful. And all the reporting that is out there, and it's being poured into social media and into the media, is originated. Even Reuters, even, AP News, everything comes from the only reporting that exists in Gaza, which is Al Jazeera. And so CNN is just an amplification on that. Not to say that also CNN is partially or majorly sponsored by Qatar Airlines, and all this. You will say it is a conspiracy theory. No,
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy.
Not.
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy
theory. There is a reason that there is flooding, and this goes first in ChatGPT because there is an agenda to make it. Now, that's the reality.
It's also another thing. It's anti-Semitism is so ingrained in people. Look, I visited Poland. It is
ingrained, but if you also kind of ignite it again and again,
if you fuel it,
and you have Al Jazeera and all these things.
Yes, everything is okay. But what I'm trying to tell you is that the base problem is that the Jewish people wanted to believe that anti-Semitism is gone.
Yeah, a lot of them still say, what we see, it's not anti-Semitism, it's just anti-Zionism.
They'll say that as they're taken to the gas chambers.
There were...
My point is that, look...
before that, I just want to... You talk all the time. Give me a sec. Seriously. They say it. And then you see in the campuses, those plaques showing the Star of David and the trash.
Yeah.
And they say there was a saying, clean the world.
Yes, of course.
So when we come to this point that this is what they say, the fact that you still think it's anti-Zionism, it's a legit critique of Israeli government and Smotrich and Ben Gvir and Bibi and stuff, and it's again the old story that they see you as the evil, the whatever, the colonist, whatever equals evil at that time, at the moment. That's like what's anti-Semitism. In any generation, it is dressed in a new form of evilness. Now you will call it colonialism, apartheid, whatever you make up words for it. It has no substance, but the whole old idea that there is this cabal of people controlling the world, and if you just get rid of them, you clean the world, you'll get to this utopia.
Yes.
Now. And not understanding us as Jews and kind of like making excuses, we'll be fucked.
Yes, and as well as if you're our friend and you think that you have Jewish friends, you need to help them wake up. And if you're listening to this, look at this. Now, what I wanted to tell you is I want to end with a funny story. Well, not funny, but a sad story. It's still funny, at least for me, is I did a trip to Poland in 91 to do like a tour of the camps from high school and stuff like that. At that point in time...
The death camp tour.
Yes.
It's a thing in Israel. You're in high school and you can do the death camps tour. Yes. It's educational.
It is important to understand this.
I kind of like came to believe it's part of our problem.
I don't.
Because then we think everything needs to be as bad as the whole... it's a total... You all need to read the book, The World Loves Hate Jews. I think that's how it's called. Daria Horn. And she explains how the Holocaust is now creating the problem of the modern anti-Semitism.
It's not creating.
Because nothing, having, anti-Semitic words on campus is not as bad as Auschwitz. So
this
it's not anti-Semitism.
Everything starts. So
if you compare everything to Auschwitz, nothing is Auschwitz.
So I'll pause for a second before I tell the story, and then I'll remind you.
Okay. Yeah, going back to your story.
The most important part of Judaism is you go back and you track all the times people try to kill you. There's Egypt, where it started. Then there's the Persian Empire, Purim, all our holidays are celebration of us surviving.
Yeah.
And everybody, every generation, somebody, and it's important for Jews to remember that everybody hates you and everybody wants to kill you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Doesn't matter what my mom thinks that if she'll convert and it will help. It didn't help. Now, back to my story. 91. Poland, at that point in time, you know how many Jews Poland had at that point in time?
Very few. Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
And as you see, I look more like Bill Burr than that how people would perceive somebody to be Jewish. And I speak languages, you know. And when we're touring the camp, I'm doing my Didi thing and keeping my distance. And somebody was starting to say very big anti-Semitic tropes against the Jewish
kids that were on a trip.
The kids that were very much in the trip. It's people that have never seen a Jew.
Well, they see them every week in the trip.
No, it's people that stay in a hotel. It's like it was in a hotel situation. You hear anti-Semitism from people that don't know Jews. It's very, very clear that in the Polish population, and I had the same incident happen to me in Austria, people that have never seen a Jew in their life, have never interacted with a Jew, still hate Jews. There's no Jews in your country, and you still hate them fundamentally. Mm-hmm. You'll see this in Austria, you'll see this in Poland, you'll see this in a lot of the Eastern Bloc countries, a fundamental hatred of Jews. And you hear this. If you speak the local languages, especially when they think you're German or they think you're French.
Where's the funny part?
The funny part is that these people don't understand that.
What's funny about it?
That nobody understands that I'm Jewish. And I keep hearing these things, and I'm wondering to myself, guys, have you ever seen a Jew? And that's my point, that this hatred of Jews is so ingrained.
It reminds me of the Borat movie.
Yes, it is the Borat movie. That the guy goes around and he has no idea. Of course, he's Israeli.
the part with
the money
when he stays in. He stays the night over in a Jewish family,
yes.
and he thinks they're gonna kill him during the night. It was funny.
It is, and this is the core of the anti-Semitic tropes. It's that it's so ingrained in some of the population, in some of the regions.
I think today it has it's always new. It's always wearing.
No,
the thing is now it's wearing the intellectual. Like
it always had. It always had the.
Sometimes it's anti-religious, and sometimes it's anti-whatever.
In the 30s in Germany, they hated the Jewish communists and they hated the Jewish religion. In the 70s.
The communists hated the Jews and
the capitalists
and executed Jewish doctors.
Exactly, and now it's us as occupiers. We're gonna do a bigger conversation. I saw Michael I forget his name, the guy that wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. He did the very nice video about why intellectuals are stupid.
Yeah, we'll take a separate.
We'll take a separate one, but everybody's trying to look at the world through a model, and they're using this. Yes, Mark Manson, and everybody's trying to look at the world through the oppressed, and the Jews are the oppressor because they inherently hate Jews. So my point, people will always find a reason, no matter what the model is, the current intellectual model, to hate Jews.
I wanna,
and that's why, by the way, I like the right more than I like the left. Because the right basically says you see people wearing swastikas without understanding what a swastika is. They drive cars that look like the General Lee and sound like Billy Bob, and they sound stupid, but they say what they think.
So I want to end this with actually something that is like positive, and maybe you without just talking about the art of not giving a fuck. So I'm torn here. I want to say something. For like since 10/7, I've been kind of very active with like fighting anti-Semitism and going with it. And a week ago, I saw a post on X, which was random, but it kind of struck me. And the post said something like, we should stop as Jews to give a fuck about anti-Semitism. It's not our problem. It's the problem of those that have it. We should focus. They make us waste our time, effort, resources, ingenuity, and all our thinking about how to fight it. Well, you know what? We're wasting time fighting thugs and stupidity, and we are like what they hate. We are successful people. We focus on being successful and winning and making money and innovating. And you know what's amazing? We were in RSA, but you know how many companies Israeli cybersecurity companies came out of stealth during the RSA time? I'm just reading about all this innovation going on, coming out of Israel. Crazy. After the Woes acquisition, the war brought so much more ideas and stuff. Israel is flooded now by VC money. The market is booming. Things are good. And you know what? Fuck it. Focus on building. Focus on doing what's good. Keep on focusing on the positive side. You know, a friend of mine that is very active in the anti-Hamas, pro-Hamas protest. He goes and he does counter-protest, and he's a lawyer. And I was like, hey, you know, an hour of your time that you go and fight those thugs, those stupid guys, and go to this protest, like, you should just work and make a living and be successful and thrive, and leave those stupid people that don't make money and have the time to do it, like, forget about them. So I have to say it's a dilemma, because on one hand, can you really ignore those things? On the other hand, is it even useful? Like, we don't even have the numbers to ever outfight them. So fuck it. Let's keep on being smart and successful and do what we do, and let them hate. Haters will hate.
But can I get a gun?
Get a gun. You have your second commandment, right?
My second commandment. Exactly. I'm gonna get a gun, because you can be anti them, but when somebody comes to shoot you, you do need a gun.
I think that's another one. I'm sure if you survey most Jewish people, they will be so anti-Second Amendment. I think we should rethink it.
Out of my dead cold hands, as Charlton Heston said.
Yeah,
out of my cold dead hands.
If you think about it, if there were more people armed around, maybe somebody would have shot the shooter earlier. So with that, thank you. Another episode of the Didi and Lital show is ending. We hope you liked and like the content. If you have ideas about what we just shared, please share it with us. We're going to be here next week. Thank you, Didi.
Thank you, Lital. And we're going to talk non-human identities and shop next time.
Going back to security.
Yes.
See you, folks.
See you.
Bye.